The regular council meeting for Tuesday, October 24th, 2023 is called to order at 7:03 p.m. We're going to first do a silent meditation and pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. I know that the clerk is at a conference in Orlando. Madam Manager, we appreciate you filling in today. We know it's extra work. But
Thank you. I just hope you all will bear with me. I haven't done this in a while. It's been a few years.
I know. We appreciate you stepping in to do this. Madam Manager, if you can, may I please have roll call, please?
Yes, indeed. Councilperson Martin.
Present.
Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Councilperson Urban.
Present.
Vice Mayor Perella.
Here.
Mayor Nickerson.
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum. Also present is Chief Alex Mendez and myself, Village Manager Alou. You have a quorum.
Thank you very much, Madam Manager. I appreciate it. Approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda if there are no adjustments? Moved by Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilperson Martin. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Hearing none, good and welfare. This is a time when anybody wants to come up, any residents, say your name and address for the record. 3 minutes is yours, and you can talk about anything that's on the agenda. There will be another good and welfare later on, and during the agenda items, you're able to come up and talk about what you need to talk about. Next, moving on, consent agenda. Seeing nobody for good and welfare. Next, moving on, consent agenda. This is just the minutes, you guys. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Moved by Vice Mayor Perella. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Second by, who was that? Was that Councilperson Urban? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Hearing none, moving on, agenda item. Motion to reconsider vote to put the village attorney contract out for RFP. Motion by Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Councilperson Lightfoot Ward, the floor is yours.
I have the floor?
Yes.
Yeah, I really didn't understand what we were voting for that day, and that's why it's back on the agenda. Sorry. Mayor, I really didn't really understand what we were voting for that day, and that's why it's back on the agenda.
All right. Well, you were one of the votes that went the way to where we're going to open up an RFP. So, per Robert's rules, since you voted that way, if you want to take your vote a different direction, you're allowed to do so, per Robert's rules, per the charter.
Yes, sir.
So, I don't know, do we want to talk about this again, or do we just want to go to a motion and a vote?
I just want to go to a motion to vote, if that's all right with the rest of the council.
Is the rest of the council, anything anybody else want to say?
Well,
Councilperson Martin?
I definitely think we voted the correct way the first time, but I do understand that everyone has, I believe everyone has a right to reconsider their vote. But my caution would be that just going out for an RFP doesn't mean that we are going to let the village attorney go, or this is just so that we can look at the landscape of the legal services out there for the $90,000 that we're paying. And I haven't minced words with what I think are the performance deficiencies on my end, but just looking at an RFP or putting out an RFP doesn't mean that we are going to make any sort of change definitively. It just gives us an idea of what's out there.
Thank you very much, Councilperson Martin. Anybody else from the council? Any questions or comments? Hearing none. All right, so for this motion to reconsider, I'm going to ask for a motion and a second for the reconsideration of the vote. After we go through that, if the reconsideration is voted, wins the vote, then I will ask for one last motion or second about the RFP process, period, just for formality. And then if it doesn't get a second or fails to get a second, or if that loses, then we'll go on to the next item. So right now, for the reconsideration of the RFP process for the village attorney contract, do I have a motion?
Since I'm asking for it, yes, you do.
Okay. Motion by Councilperson Lightfoot Ward, Madam Manager. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second for the reconsideration by Councilperson Urban.
Okay.
Madam Manager, whenever you're ready, I know you're. I know this
Right,
is-
I'm trying to write everything
Yeah, I know.
down,
That's why.
too.
That's why
Okay, give me a
I'm
moment,
speaking
please,
slow.
motion.
I mean, you're asking for my motions in a slow
Okay.
process.
In the matter of motion, of
The reconsideration for the RFP process
for the village attorney contract. Councilperson Martin, how do you vote?
No.
Okay. Councilperson Ward?
Yes, I'd like to reconsider.
Okay. Councilperson Urban?
Yes.
Okay. Vice Mayor Perella?
Yes.
Mayor Nickerson?
No.
Okay, the motion passes 3-2.
Okay. All right. So that being said, just close this conversation down. So there is no consideration for an RFP process for the village attorney contract.
Very good.
Okay. All right. Anybody have any last questions or comments about that?
I thought we were just voting on the reconsideration, and then
So
now we could make a motion to put out the RFP, and then we would see like who's for or against it.
That's my understanding.
Because I would want to
Yeah.
move to put out an RFP to look at village attorney services for the village of El Portal.
All right. So the vote for the reconsideration passed. Is there, now we're looking for, we're back to kind of where we started with the RFP process for the village attorney contract. So reconsideration vote passed. Now we're back to kind of like square one. Is there any questions or comments about the RFP process for the village attorney contract before I ask for a motion or a second? Okay, hearing none. Do I have a motion to put the village attorney contract out for an RFP?
Moved. So moved.
Moved by Councilperson Martin. Do I have a second? Now that's second time. Do I have a second? Three times. This is it. Last time. For the RFP contract to go out for the village attorney, do I have a second? The motion fails for lack of a second. Okay. Moving on to agenda item G2. I believe this was for you, Councilperson Urban. The floor is yours.
Yes. So, in this discussion about the adjustment to the noise ordinance, just a little history. So, as the short-term rental ordinance and the effort in that direction came into view, noise quickly became a priority for many residents in terms of people being vocal about noise complaints, weekend parties, short-term rentals, and then with the addition of the Cavista construction and then the addition of the skate park, then the anxiety of the sanctuary, the Raider Church being developed, as well as the anxiety of what's going to happen with the little farm. All of this has kind of brought noise to the top of discussion. So with this development, which will continue for the foreseeable future, the issue is only going to become more pervasive. The Skatebird Miami issue has kind of gotten a lot of the attention because of the uniqueness of it, because there are residents from the city of Miami involved. And so that specific issue has kind of highlighted the need for a more robust, modern, up-to-date, comprehensive, all of the above kind of adjustment to the noise ordinance. So Code Enforcement Officer Simmons presented recommendations to the Code Enforcement Committee. Ultimately, what I'm doing here is bringing those recommendations to the full council. So right now, the current situation is we are effectively following Section 13.2 of the code, which is modeled after the Miami-Dade County's noise ordinance. Mr. Simmons recommends that the village increase its regulation of noise with specifics related to the time of day and noise level measurements. So in terms of specifics related to the time of day, my original thinking was, okay, so we have a hard deadline of when these noises can occur, right? And luckily we have an expert who's more knowledgeable than me, and and so Code Enforcement Officer Simmons' recommendation was essentially the opposite. Look, don't have these time frames where essentially people believe they can operate with impunity. Instead, have a noise ordinance that can be enforced effectively 24 hours a day. So to that effect, it's a matter of, okay, putting language into the ordinance regarding the travel of noises, right? So partly to accomplish that, we would need to conduct a study throughout the village. We're in the process currently of trying to find at least three contractors who do this type of work to get some competitive bids. I believe there has been discussion with one such company so far. We're still looking for 2 more to properly vet the expense of this. In the meantime, Code Enforcement Officer Simmons and the El Portal Police Department have been working together to both warn and cite the owner of Skatebird in efforts to discourage violation of the code and to encourage being a good neighbor. El Portal Police Department is responding to after-work hours noise complaints and supporting Code Enforcement Department whenever possible. So, Village Manager Alou, the Building Department, Zoning Department, Code Enforcement, and the El Portal Police Department supported and assisted the business Skatebird Miami in getting its certificate of occupancy that took almost 2 years. Meetings with Miami-Dade Fire about occupancy, but for the noise matters, Manager Alou discontinued all special events permits until a formal noise mitigation plan for Skatebird was approved and permitted by the Building Department and Planning and Zoning Department. The concept was presented to the administration and El Portal Police Department earlier this month by Skatebird Miami and its legal representative. All of that is to say is that there is a joint effort to try and understand how genuine mitigation can be accomplished. And as always, we've had a couple El Portal residents step forward who have expertise in one field or another and have also been very helpful in providing suggestions and strategies to accomplish this. So, as we consider the vendors to provide the community noise survey services, there is a plan of action in place. So at this time, tonight, I'll spare you the suspense. I will be recommending that we table specific changes to the noise ordinance. However, I want to be able to illustrate what we have been doing and what the kind of what's been going on behind the scenes, right? So the goal here is to have a comprehensive noise survey done for Z3 residential, Z4 mixed use, and Z5 commercial and mixed use. And the ultimate goal of this is not specifically to put decibel level restrictions in place. So I know it sounds like that might be the case, and the end goal is, okay, so we'll do the noise survey and then we can figure out what decibel levels to put into the code. That'll give us an idea of what kind of levels we're talking about, but really the idea is we're looking to find the appropriate distances that would be listed for essentially audible, disruption of the peace, right? So that it's not going to require such extra steps or such extra surveillance, things like this. The idea is that through those zones we can accomplish a kind of a modern noise ordinance that can be enforced 24 hours a day and can address those issues. So while there is no specific language to speak of in terms of what the recommended change to the current ordinance is, there is effort from all sides in trying to find a solution where common ground can be found in the meantime until the ordinance is bolstered. It's only going to be a couple more months. I mean, in theory, we could have something by November already. And so this is not going to be another, 18 months before we have something to update with the noise ordinance. So a lot has been going on, a lot is going on, and the ultimate goal is to have an enforceable noise ordinance that is able to be applied in the different zones fairly and ubiquitously, and we are not far from accomplishing that. So at this time, I would be looking for a motion to table changes to the noise ordinance to the November full council meeting.
All right, before we ask for that motion, thank you very much, Councilperson Erbaum. So, and I think I heard this correctly, which is a good thing. So you're looking to, for the different zones, have the data that fits that particular zone be how we change or adjust the noise ordinance?
Yes, so the idea is that, noise would be confined to property boundaries, right? Now, in reality, we all know that this is not actually accomplishable, right? So it becomes a matter of distance traveled. Yes, you can measure it by decibel, but the idea is to not specifically put, numbers in the ordinance. The idea is to make within the different zones a 50 feet, 100 feet, things to this effect, right, of how far the audible noise would be allowed to travel. There is still some, yeah.
If I guess,
Yes.
if I can say something in reference to that, it's it's just an experience that I had, and it's funny because when you're talking about how the sound travels, and it all depends on the circumstances, right? Like I have my next door neighbors, like they have a deck right up of my house, like it's probably 10 feet in between. I cannot hear a thing because I have a thick glass. My windows are 7/16. They're super thick and whatever. So my front neighbor, so we're talking about probably over 100 feet. She said she called, that was a few years ago. She had called the police twice because of the noise, because it travels all the way through my carport, I guess, and it goes straight to her window, front window in the bedroom. So it's super,
So that actually highlights almost the exact issue we're dealing with at Skatebird Miami.
Yes. There you go.
And so, for example, we've had a resident suggest that there should not be a lot of right angles, within the property. So there's a possibility of figuring out how to create wider angles in terms of the actual physical structures, the containers like placed together, right? Or something that would create something that would eliminate the corner, right? Because the design is essentially right? So the specific environment plays into all of that.
That's
So
why you don't bother too much the people on the side, because they have that block building next
Yep.
to it. It's more traveling. that
right.
way.
And so, you also have noises traveling along the canal, the water, right? So noise can travel pretty far up the canal, where a neighbor just, across the street from someone on the canal can't hear anything, but someone almost a block ahead, further away, can, just as you're describing. So that is all, very much acknowledged that, in some ways, like the skateboard issue is they're gonna have to design their way out of this, and they are working towards accomplishing that. So that's the good news, is that there's not really, there has been some animosity, don't get me wrong, but it's still a civil discourse of how do we accomplish living together. And I certainly feel the pressure to, get to the end zone on this so that everyone can go back to enjoying their lives as they see fit. Mr. Attorney?
Yeah, I have a question. So I understand why it would be different in different zones. That makes a lot of sense, and a lot of other factors might play in. But is what you're looking at still going to have, depending on the zone and the distance, You know, it may be a greater distance in one zone than another, but it will
Subjectivity.
still rely on decibel levels as measured at distance or not at all?
So when the noise survey is done, that's what they're going to do essentially, is measure decibel levels at distances. They'll do it at different points throughout the village so that essentially, you know, areas could be identified. Okay, we're gonna have, noise will travel far in this area, noise is mitigated in this area, probably because of vegetation, almost always, right? And so, you know, honestly, vegetation and native plants are going to play a big role in the future because we're going to have a great big giant urban core grow up around us here in about 15 minutes. So, you know, it's eventually, noise is not going to, this is only going to get worse. Noise issues only going to become more complex, more complicated. It's going to be more nuanced, and so in that, to put an identifiable number in the ordinance is almost counterproductive, because then it just as we are now, we're trying to figure out if we can train officers to go out there with decibel meters and with measuring tape and do all of that over a noise complaint when we all know that the noise is audible from a far distance. You know, that doesn't take a rocket scientist, but so that is the goal, of course. Please.
We done talked so much that I don't even want to hear it anymore. And literally, that building is not enclosed. Let's keep that in mind. That building is not enclosed. Because it's not properly enclosed is why we have the noise. If that business had been in a building with walls, windows, and all that other stuff, we wouldn't be talking about this every time. The property is not suited for what the activity engages. So that's the first thing. Why are we still talking about this? I want him to be uncomfortable enough to want to either rebuild the building or go find a new place in the village. Because it's not enclosure. It's not enclosed. I don't want to go through all this every time about how we get rid of the noise. The noise is because it's not an enclosed building. And we didn't think it was going to be that loud when we said, okay. Now it's coming back to bite us. But what you're saying is just like putting a bandage over it. It's going to always be noise. And that's not where I want our police officers to be. And that's not where I want our neighbors to be. I live on the far side of town, but I feel them. I feel that. They like to have parties on my street too, but they got to enclose whatever. And we say, well, close your doggone windows, do something. But I don't want to hear that noise. So I don't know why we're still talking about abating and whatever that other word is. That's not going to solve the problem. What's going to solve the problem is it's not the right building for what is being carried on in there. That's all. That's all it is.
Councilperson Ward, may I just address a couple of things you stated?
Sure.
Understood. The facility is a park, and that's what the certificate of occupancy is for. He has gotten special events permits or, you know, opportunities to have events there that are not under the certificate of occupancy. That's why he's, you know. So moving forward, we don't have a certificate, we don't have special events there until he can produce the noise mitigation plan. And so what he is contemplating, what he gave us a kind of a schematic or, you know, prospectus of what he wants to put or to install. It's a noise or sound curtain. Now, he will have to go through permitting, through building department, through Miami-Dade County, as well as zoning to get the permits needed to put the sound curtain in. But also, he may have to go back to the county to change the what it's allowed at the facility. So there can't be events every month like it was when we started getting these complaints. A special event is sometime, maybe two times a year, 3 at the most, but we aren't going to be doing those permits moving forward. And if he wants to change the use, then he'll have to start over with his process. But I'm going to give him an opportunity to do this noise mitigation plan. Let's hope for the best for him. We want to see him thrive because I think people do enjoy the park aspect of it, and it's a destination for El Portal. But I think that where we got into trouble was him having these parties and these concerts and going above and beyond what the certificate of occupancy was allowing for.
So am I still on the right land? Am
Yeah.
I still on ground level?
Yeah, you're fine
Okay,
for
I
ground
just-
level, but just know that he's working on something, and we're gonna give him
Okay,
an opportunity
exactly.
to fix it,
That's right.
or to do what he can to fix it. I don't think he's gonna break down the building and start over again,
No.
but he'll hopefully be able to remedy a lot of this with the curtains, with the sound curtains.
Okay, but I'm trying to let him know they're just putting up a barricade that may not be the solution. We're sitting here all the time looking at what, those of us that have looked and seen what it looks like, then we know why it's noisy. We know why it's noisy. Okay? So all I'm trying to do is say, let the man do what the man thinks he needs to do, but if it's still noisy, it's just gonna be noisy, because it's not the right structure. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you, Councilperson Lightfoot. Councilperson Urban, go ahead and finish your thought.
No, so the concerns are all certainly taken well, and it's not, there's not any special exceptions being given here. It is a matter of trying. This will not be the last time this becomes an issue, and until we have the specifics to reword the ordinance, there's a great deal being done in the meantime. And so that's my final thought. It's not just a matter of, oh, he's going to put their curtain up, okay? It's also, but I know Skatebird gets the big slice here, but it's also not entirely about Skatebird. But at the same time, there's a sincere acknowledgement that they are the big slice right now in terms of where, the resources are being diverted here. So in all of that, there has been, a lot of work done. I mean, I just can't even begin to thank Officer Simmons enough for his expertise, his knowledge, his desire to share all of that, and he has great ideas, and we're on the right track here to having a modern noise ordinance that's comprehensive throughout the 3 zones. I think we can get it done within the next 60 days for sure. I do feel that, look, we need the survey done to get it done, but that's going to be the final. I know this is going to make you very nervous to hear the final piece to put in those distances, similar to the final piece of the short-term rentals was going to be the fees, right? So I will certainly be doing my best not to repeat anything along those lines. But the framework of it can certainly come into clear view, and then if all we're waiting on is that survey to kind of put in those final pieces, I think we'll be in great shape here. And in the meantime, we do have a violator who is willing and is working to find an amicable solution, and is come to the table every single time. So it's there you go. We're trying to find a solution, and we're going to get there quicker rather than later. Yes.
I just want to echo on the topic of code enforcement. We had another hearing for the special master today. The first one was rocky. It was like 5.5 hours because there was such a backlog. The second one was much smoother today. We were done in about a little over an hour and a half. And I've never seen code enforcement. I mean, people don't like it. Some of the residents were not happy that they were called up on code enforcement.
You have no idea how ironic it is that I'm chairing the code enforcement committee. You'll never know the depth of that irony. So,
but they mostly seem to get it. The master's doing a great job, and Mr. Simmons is just. I mean, we've never had code enforcement run as smoothly as it's running. So while you're on the topic and talking about him, people are going to get the idea that those codes mean something.
Can I have a second? First of all, Council Member Urban, I do want to thank you for doing the work it takes to prepare for the village's growth. I know that some of the issues that you're tackling right now might not seem very timely because of where we are now when we look at the built environment. But when we think about where we will be, having a noise ordinance that's contemplative of all of these different elements and uses, I think will leave us better off in the long run. So kudos to you for that. I do just want to be, chime in on this, that these are restructuring an ordinance is also like, for sure, Code Officer Simmons definitely needs to chime in on that, but these are also highly legally specialized documents that need to be looked at by the village attorney. And also, if you want that type of quick turnaround, it needs to be something that we can do within the confines of the representation that we have now. I do want to caution everybody that I did a quick search of my email, and the first time that I mentioned short-term, one of the first times I mentioned short-term rental ordinance was May of 2022. Since then, we do have an ordinance, but it's riddled with bad law and admittedly a copy and paste job from Miami Shores. And my thoughts on that are that that is troubling, especially when you say that you have a noise ordinance that you want to turn around rather quickly and be responsive to what it is happening in the village right now. In addition to that, we're also paying our village attorney $90,000, and we have really no way of determining exactly how many hours he is spending on village work. I don't think that that is something that I think is sufficient, or I think is a sound way to analyze whether you're getting what you're paying for. I know my colleagues on the council have said that they're satisfied with their vote tonight. I definitely am not, and if you're a villager in the village, I would urge you to talk to your council members about ways in which we can make sure that, hey, we have our village attorney, but we know for sure that he is working on village issues and ready and responsive to make the kind of quick changes to ordinances and resolutions that we need in order to be responsive in that way and prepare for the rapid growth that lies ahead of us. So with that being said, kudos to you, but everyone out there, keep your eyes open and hold people accountable. I want to urge all my colleagues to hold all of the administrators in the village accountable for doing good work for the village and giving us the bargain that we are paying for. So that's my comments.
Thank you very much, Councilperson Martin. Anybody else from the council? All right, so we're going to go with the motion. Anybody from the audience? That's good. So we're going to go with the motion. I'm going to ask for the motion to, you want to table it, Councilperson Urban?
Yes, to the November full council meeting.
To the November full council meeting. All right, and Judge, I just want to say that I also have questions, but since we're tabling it, it's no reason to go through it now because we have to go through it again in November. So, but I have a few questions also. But good work, everybody. Do I have a motion to table the noise, what's the name of it? Noise ordinance recommendation? Do I have a motion to table that until the November meeting?
So moved.
Moved by Councilperson Martin. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilperson Urban. Madam Manager, when you get a chance, man, please have a roll call on that, please. You're good.
Okay. Councilperson Martin.
Yes.
Okay, Councilperson Ward. Councilperson Urban.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Perella.
Yes.
Mayor Nickerson.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes 5-0.
All right, thank
To-
you very
To
much.
table this discussion
To
to
table this
November.
discussion to November, the noise ordinance recommendations. When you get an opportunity, Madam Manager, we're moving on to your report. No rush. Whenever you get a chance, Madam Manager, you're good.
No, there's a rush.
We appreciate-
There's a rush.
we-
Since we are almost in the home stretch, I'll go ahead and get it
Trying to get you guys out of here.
because,
Right.
we've been busy. This has been a busy, busy month.
Yes.
And I just want to bring up just a couple of things. I distributed my manager's report and put it on the village website. It's, very thick as always, but I think it's important everybody know what's happening and just to keep those projects in the forefront of your mind. So, I've been told that it's too much to read, but I think all of it is important because it shows you what we're doing. It's my report card to you every month. So with that, I will just update you on the family-size ADA-compliant restroom that's being installed in the El Portal tot lot will be, now according to the contractor, and so far he's stayed on task, and on the new contractor, November 28th, 2023 will be the opening date. So we're very happy to finally have that. But sadly, our Halloween, our El Portal Women's Club is having a Halloween movie night costume party in the tot lot. So it won't be open yet for that, but perhaps we will do something at the holiday time with them that will, you know, inaugurate our new ADA compliant restroom. Also, I just want to remind everyone that the electric shuttle service was discontinued this month, October 14th, so we are no longer operating the shuttle service. The equipment was left for us here to operate on our own in terms of charging, but I will have to then retrofit it to something that we can maintain, but I'll be looking into that with Public Works on how we can maintain our own little charging station for our residents and visitors. Public Works Director Mohan Thampi and I and the David A. Plummer and Associates representative Juan Espinosa presented to the TPO the village's Northeast 2nd Avenue mobility study that we commissioned through a grant provided by TPO. So we finished first. We're the smallest municipality, so I'm not surprised, but we did good work, and they gave us kudos for a great plan, and they are looking forward to seeing what we do next. So the next stop is to hopefully present to the county in an effort to do the road diet painted intersections so that we can accommodate our efforts in slowing down the speeding and making our village more walkable. Northeast 2nd Avenue especially, and since we're getting new development there, this is the best time to get that in. So we're hopeful and happy that the TPO, that's the Transportation Planning Organization, was pleased with the presentation and gave us their approval to move it forward. So now we'll go to Department of Public Transportation and Public Works, as well as you know, before the council to see what we will present next, how we'll move that forward. And speaking of roads, our Public Works Coordinator, Mr. Solomon, is conducting his pothole inventory for 2024 and getting that list together. So I urge any resident who has a pothole in the right-of-way or on the road to please report. He or she may do that at publicworks@villageofelportal.org, providing a physical address so that we're able to go and check on it. There are differences between potholes and road erosion. Sadly, road erosion is a more costly undertaking, but the potholes we are able to deal with, and we will add any road erosion, obviously, to road repair plans that we have always been hopeful in getting funded through the state, but haven't been able to do that as of yet. Let's see. I did speak at the, I'm sorry, Vice Mayor Perella spoke about the LED streetlight conversion pilot program being reinvigorated. And we're hopeful that within 6 months, the village will see 151 FPL owned and operated streetlights converted to the lower wattage to accommodate our bird sanctuary status and to just have the new LED lights, so we're more energy efficient and a prettier village in lighting. So we're hopeful for that. So again, the FPL contact says that it will be ready in 6 months. They just have to get the equipment for the village. And again, we're smaller, so hopefully they'll be able to do that quickly. Mayor Nickerson and I have fielded yet another meeting with a prospective buyer of the Little Farm trailer park. This sounds pretty hopeful, and we're going to keep our fingers crossed, but with everything that's happening in El Portal, I mean, Councilperson Urban spoke it best about everything that's changing, and we really are going through a lot of growing pains right now, but if that project is sold, or that property is sold quickly, then we can also add that, and that's going to be a significant impact to the village and to the noise and the trash and the parking and the traffic and what have you, but all good things as we grow forward in this small village. Just some department highlights. I wanted to bring everyone's attention to the fact that Chief Mendez has identified some fantastic full-time police officers. Officer Ricardo Chavez and Officer Anna Machado are our two new full-time police officers. We're grateful to have them. One, Officer Chavez is a bit more seasoned, so he's bringing a wealth of experience, and Officer Machado is brand new out of the academy, and so we're excited to have those two members to the department. They're going to be fantastic, and already they're well liked and loved, and they're doing a fantastic job. So you'll see more of them at the November 4th Information Expo. Also, with that, Officer Manny Berthet and his wife gave birth to baby Jacob this month. So again, highlighting how people are feeling good in the department. It wasn't always like that. So we're happy to have Chief Mendez's leadership and great vibes where families are being developed right here, you know. So we're happy to welcome baby Jacob as well. As the village attorney stated, we had a special master's hearing today. Only 7 cases heard, but the word is out. I think this is a fantastic deterrent for, you know, code violation. It's important that we are able to enforce and then stand behind that and have the support of the attorney and the council. And so, Code Officer Simmons is doing a yeoman's job. We're pleased with him and all of the work he does, and continuing to support him because he has turned the department around and he's really shining. So we want to continue to give him kudos for that and the support he needs to continue. And as stated, I am speaking with firms in consideration of the community noise survey services in various zones. And so we have a lot happening with that. So you'll hear more about that, and hopefully we can have some proposals to provide. But speaking of proposals, today was the last day of the RFP that we have out for the critical facilities grant that we got a couple of years back that was painstakingly worked on by our grants coordinator, Robert Ruano, with the police department, the building department, and public works to finally get some critical hardening for the station. That won't really impact this part of the village hall, but it will impact the police station. And speaking of grants, we will be pursuing more funding for police department expansion and safety in this coming legislative session. So we'll keep you posted, and hopefully our legislative team will come forward and give you some discussion. But Mayor Nickerson and I had actually been talking a lot with Senator Chevron Jones, who gave us a lot of guidance. I mean, a lot of good advice on what we should be looking for in terms of our request. And public safety was at the top of his list. So we said, that's what we need. If we can make this building, you know, if we can harden it in a better way or improve it, because what we're doing now, you know, we didn't get that funding. It got through all the way to the governor's desk, and then it was axed out when we wanted to improve the village hall. We'll go about it in a different way this time around. So that'll be coming very soon. And there are so many things we continue to do in the village, and you know, we're here to support you all. We appreciate the council and residents supporting us as well and working with us, and we're all a big family. You know, we may fuss a little bit sometimes when folks don't agree, but we always come back together. So we're happy to continue to serve you and the village. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much,
I
Madam
have a
Mayor.
quick question. Could you give me that, Madam Manager, could you give me the date that the tot lot the bathroom is opening again?
I think it's a Tuesday,
November.
November 28th.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Councilperson Martin. Anybody else questions or comments for the manager? All right, moving right along. You guys see my report. I get calls from residents, and they're appreciating any more calls. Just continue to call me up. You guys call me day or night, anytime, doesn't matter. Attorney Geller for the attorney report.
Well, 2 quick items. Number one, I just want to remind everyone, prior to the last council meeting, I had sent you a proposed redraft on the short-term rentals ordinance. I haven't gotten any comments from anyone, so it's been a month. I would encourage all of you to give me any comments that you do have on the proposed new ordinance, but be careful. You can email me, you can email the manager, you can email the clerk. Do not send your comments to each other. If you copy other council members, that could be viewed as a violation of the Sunshine Law. I'm not saying it is a violation, but particularly if anybody answers back, it could be viewed as that. So I would encourage any of you to either email me comments, or I'm certainly happy to discuss them verbally. The other thing to report is that we are right on the cusp of having a labor agreement with the police officers. We have one remaining non-financial, well, I mean, everything is financial, but it's not a wage issue or a benefits issue that we're trying to finalize some language on. So you can look for information from the manager or me coming forward on that, but we think we've got the outlines of a deal, at least between the administration and the union, and obviously that'll be subject to your review, but it's been a while since we've had one, and we think we'll be back in contract if you approve what we're going to recommend sooner than later. And that concludes my report, unless there are any questions.
Yeah, just a quick question for you. In the previous draft of the short-term rental ordinance, I think we had a discussion about whether or not the fines were appropriate and in accordance with Florida law. The new version that you sent over have that same fine structure. So if you could just look at that to confirm that those are actually what can be charged under Florida law, that would be great.
I will definitely
Thank you so much.
specifically look at that.
Awesome, I appreciate you.
And I'll get back to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else questions or comments for the attorney? Hearing none. Moving on to good and welfare. Anybody can come up right now and talk about anything at all. It doesn't have to be just things that are on this agenda. 3 minutes, first and last name for the record. The floor is yours.
Good evening. Jay Ribeiro, 225 Northeast 86th Street. I hear a lot of talk about the noise ordinance. I mean, that's a business. It was structured the way it is. Why are you penalizing tax revenue when, if and any of you have walked 85th Street, 86th Street, I don't hear the noise when I'm outside. I mean, inside my house doesn't matter because I have secure windows, but when I'm outside, I don't hear the noise. So I recommend each and every one of you, Mayor, you do the walking, Louis, you do the walking, but I recommend each and every one of you to walk this area of the neighborhood before you consider wasting money in getting somebody to do a study and or penalize tax revenue for the village. Issue number one. Issue number two, I have brought up the issue multiple times and I have not seen any recommendation from code enforcement regarding the lights, measurement of lights in our property. This has been a very this has been a very sticky issue in my house. I've had code enforcement go to my house multiple times to measure my light, and out of the 4 times, one time only one of my lights went over a foot, over the fence. The other times that he's been there, the light did not even measure up to the 0.50 whatever, illumination, whatever, that needed to be. So, one, you need recommendations, you need a resolution or something for you guys to work on, because this guy, quote unquote, the neighbor, is basing his complaints on a county ordinance. We need something for the village. Umber, you asked the code enforcement guy why did he spend $10,000 last year. That would be something for you to ask the manager or CFO. Also take into account Officer Simmons last month spent hours in the office researching my file, which had over 400 documents going back to 1950, to identify whether I had a permit for lights or not. Not only was it researching my file, but researching the other neighbor, Don Wellman, researching the other neighbor, Connie, because we're all getting complaints from that one individual that is so sensitive to lights. I will not turn off my lights. My safety and my property security is going to be number one, and lights are always going to be on. So you guys need to work on some sort of a recommendation, resolution, whatever you call, regarding lights. And this has to stop, because having Officer Simmons go to my house every other week to measure lights is ridiculous. Okay? Just hearing the attorney talk about short-term agreement rewrite was sent to you a month, 6 weeks ago, and none of you had replied to him. Why? I mean, why are we bringing up an issue about the attorney not doing his job, getting overpaid, when none of you are responding and he has to bring this up? That you all need to respond. If you don't have anything to say about that rewrite, just acknowledge it to him. I do that in my business. I acknowledge the email when I receive it. I acknowledge that I have no changes, or I make my recommendations. That's on my business etiquette. Village, you should do the same. My 3 minutes are up.
Thank you very much. Anybody has any questions or comments or rebuttals to Mr. Ribeiro?
Oh, not a rebuttal, but a point of agreement. I have walked that street on numerous nights, on Thursdays, on Saturdays, just to see if I could get an inkling of what it was that was the complaint, and I couldn't hear anything. So if that's just a point of a data point when we're thinking about it, and we spoke about it in the last meeting as far as cost benefit analysis. I don't think we know the cost of what this study costs, and I've never looked into a comprehensive sound study of really anything. So I'd be interested to see the numbers. But I think once we get the numbers, then we can engage in the cost benefit analysis of it. And without the numbers, we're kind of just talking about this really jelly-like nebulous idea. But of course, with everything, there's a cost benefit analysis to be engaged in.
Thank you very much, Councilperson Martin. Anybody else for Mr. Ribeiro before I go to the next resident? Very good. Name and address for the record, my brother. The floor is yours.
Good evening, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dwight Garman. I live at 41588 Terrace. Is that the right address, honey? Okay, that's okay. I have two short things. Hey, Chief. I've been here for a long time, and I have watched the village attorney, and I've had a lot of interactions with him. If this was a cost issue towards what he's getting paid, and I don't, being an actual union rep, I don't bring those kind of things up unless it's necessary. I look at, as the young gentleman said, what is he doing, and what is he not doing? And I've seen this gentleman keep us out of court several times over the years. I think that speaks volume for what he actually does. I don't know what's going on about where this is happening. It's just I have been hearing this lately, and it kind of bothers me in a way as a resident that don't have to worry about a lot of the other things that other villages have to worry about, because we have an attorney that actually is on top of that. So he's shown to me that he is village orientated at what he does, and I appreciate it about him. And he's a very accessible person. Now with the light issues, I have agreeing part on that, sir, because some resident will find it annoying to have lights over their fences. However, if there is a ordinance that says it can only go but like so far, and after all these 4 chances, they only found 1 out of 4, it could have been a happenstance that the wind blew a certain kind of way. Anything can happen, you know. As a former electrician, these things do happen. I got about 30 seconds left. The noise ordinance part, I think we dealt with this some months ago with the skate ring issue, and there was a thing about the noise ordinance about that. We have an ordinance that's in place, correct, though. We have to comply with what's there, but if it needs to be changed, then I guess we would revisit that in the future. Thank you, Mayor, Assistant Mayor, and the rest of the crew up there at the top there. Thank you, our village manager and Joe. Thank you, El Patel. I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments for resident Dwight Garman? Hearing, seeing none. Any last questions or comments before I move to a motion to adjourn? Any last thoughts? Hearing, seeing none. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Moved by Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilperson Martin. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Hearing none, the regular council meeting for Tuesday, October 24th, 2023 is adjourned at 7:59 p.m. Thank you very much, everybody.